Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of First Impressions. Today I'm doing a review of Prey, which has just been released on the 5th of May. I'm going to go through the gameplay, talk about the graphics and sound, go through some of the good points and bad points, and give you my overall first impressions, so sit back and enjoy. Prey is a single player game, so there's no multiplayer function. It's all about the story in this game, and you play as either a male or female character called Morgan Yu. It doesn't matter which one you choose, it's all down to your individual preference. Initially you start off in what looks like your apartment, but then as the events of the game unfold at the beginning, you realise you're actually on board a space station just on the outskirts of the moon called Talos 1, and the actual space station has been overrun by an alien organism called the Typhon, which can either mimic the shape and appearance of objects you see in the environment, as well as more alien looking things such as humanoid looking creatures, ones that look like blobs and cysts. There's quite a lot of going on in the actual space station. It's all about the actual story in the game, so as you go through you'll find out what's actually happened, because initially at the beginning of the game you don't really have any memory as to why you're there or what's actually happened, so the actual game does a good job of creating a sense of confusion, and it makes you want to actually explore and find out what's happened. So although you've got the initial main story which will fill in the blanks of what's going on, you can actually explore the environments, and you'll find either recordings from dead people that are on the, you find in the actual levels and throughout the actual station itself. You can find their recordings, a bit like audio logs, and it tells you what's happened. You can find notes dotted about with computers, bits of paper. You can find files, and all that adds a lot more depth to the actual story, so it creates a good sense of something sort of ominous has been brewing, and you kind of get the impression that you as a main character have not always been above board as well in terms of what's been going on in this whole experiments on this space station. The actual mechanics of the gameplay, it's a lot like a first person shooter, in terms that you've got some standard weapons like the pistol, shotgun, which as you expect do normal damage, but you also got some more unusual, inventive weapons such as the glue gun. So the glue gun itself just fires globules of glue, a bit like polyfiller. So you can use that to either put out environmental hazards such as fires, electrical damage, but you can also use it to fire on enemies, and it will slow them down and encase them in a thick sort of crustaceous like expulsion. And now it doesn't actually do any damage, but you can use that to slow enemies down. But you can also use a lot of other ways to combat enemies, so you can either pick up things in the environment such as explosive canisters, throw those at the enemies. You can learn alien abilities such as energy blast later on in the game, so you can take out enemies that way. Or you can even sneak past them altogether entirely if you're quiet enough. It really is up to you how you want to tackle the enemies in the game. There's more than one way of getting around them. Sometimes you can lay traps, so you can find turrets and you can place them strategically at choke points, and if the enemies come to you, the turrets will attack them. You can also find that might be an environmental hazard such as an oil spill, so you can lure enemies there. You can either throw an object that will explode or fire at the actual hazard itself, and that will destroy the enemies. You can also choose to immobilise them with a glue gun, or stun them with, let's say, like the electricity guns, and then just to run away from them or just avoid them entirely. In terms of the levels as well, there's a lot of functionality in how you actually get to certain points in the game, so you can either navigate through different sections of the space station by going through and finding things like key cards, but you can also find hidden vents. You can use the glue gun to create sort of ledges you can climb on to get through different sections of the actual station, because there's quite a lot of vertical areas where you can climb up and down on things. You can place objects that you can get on top of, but you can also go around the station going through air vents. You can actually go outside the station in space, and you can go through various different airlocks to access new parts of the station. As you explore Talos 1, you can go around the environments and you'll find what looks like junk objects, so bits of wire, bio waste. You can pick those up. You can also scavenge items from dead enemies and dead co-workers. So you might find things like med kits, which you can use obviously to restore health, but also like ammo for your weapons. But then you'll find other items with things like scrap metal, which initially might not look like they serve a purpose, but as you go around the station you'll find big recycling machines, so you put any junk items in there or weapons you find which you no longer need, and you can convert those into raw materials. You can then take those raw materials to something called a fabricator, and these fabricators will take a certain amount of materials which all fall into a category, and you can use that to craft new items. So it might be you can use it to make weapons, or ammunition for items, new types of weapons such like grenades. But you also like med kits, and as you go around the station, you'll find more blueprints for more items. So initially, you're very limited into what you actually can create. But as you go through the station, either find terminals or I think plans lying around, you'll be able to craft more and more items, and it makes the journey much more manageable, because there are times in the game where ammo is quite scarce, and if there's quite a lot of enemies and you can't get past them quite easily, it's very tough to survive. Good thing I like about this as well is that the actual combat is quite satisfying in that it's not overly easy when there's more than one enemy. So if there's a small mimic, and you can usually take it out with no issues really, if provided it's not becoming invisible or mimicking an object. But some of the later enemies which you encounter in the game can be quite challenging, so you need some creative ways to destroy them. So if you've not got many alien powers, if you're just sticking mainly to the sort of human skill trees, then you have to rely on firepower and creating like traps and using the environment to cause damage. But as you go through the game later on, you can unlock alien power should you wish to do so, and that can make combat a lot more interesting. But also you can use that to sort of open up your exploration options. So there's quite a lot to do in terms that you can actually upgrade your skills using something called neuro mods. So you find these dotted about the levels, and with each skill will require a set number of neuro mods, and then you can build new versions of the skill. So initially, ones that you can create using build up on things like the hacking skill, so that allows you to hack into electronic devices. Repair skill, you can repair items, things you find about. But then as you learn more advanced versions of the skills, you can do more. So you can either hack more difficult and encrypted locks, or repair much more complex structures. Same with the alien powers, you can use things where you can, like say, fire an energy blast or mimic an object itself, and as you develop those skills further, it gives you more options and become more advantageous to you. So there's a lot of options in the game, so you can choose how you want to develop your character, and it will allow you to try different ways and different runs through the game to see what options suit you best. Good thing as well I like in the game, you've got the ability to actually upgrade weapons as well, and so you can upgrade things like firepower, the amount of ammunition it holds, reload times, things like that. You can find spare weapons, so you might find more, you'll find more than one handgun, shotgun, etc. You can scrap those into materials. You can also upgrade your suit, so your character has a suit, acts a bit like armour, so the armour gets depleted, you can repair that. But you can also add mods to the suit that you'll find, so there might be things that will shield you from like electrical energy damage, radiation. You can also find a helmet like a gyrosphere, and that allows you to see some of the mimics which are hidden or detect them, and as you scan the enemies with those, that allows you to learn new things about the enemies on the station. And that's also the way you actually learn the alien abilities that you can actually mod into your character as well. So the graphics in Prey are done very nicely in my opinion. The actual characters themselves are not super realistic, it's almost slightly cartoony in the actual appearance, but the overall game as a whole is quite polished. The environments are mapped quite well, so there's quite a lot of obvious differences between certain sections of the game, and in terms of when you're going from one part of the station to another. There's sometimes games I found where you're exploring, sometimes it can look quite samey. In Prey, there's the sections of the game where you're going through, say, the tunnels in the station, or into areas where it's damaged or the power's out. There's quite noticeable differences in sort of the appearance of each part of the station, which adds nice variety. The actual character designs, in terms of people you encounter, it's done very well. The actual texturing of the costumes and the walls, over on the whole, are done very nice, and they're quite polished and sharp. The lighting's used to good effect as well. So there's points where you might go into a damaged part of a station or power's out, and it's very dark and gloomy. You have to rely on your flashlight, and it does create an added sense of tension in that you've got to look out for hazards in the game, or navigate through wreckage. But also you're wondering whether or not there's going to be mimics lying in wait to try and trick you, and you're going to be attacked. So it's used very well, and that respect. Also, when you're doing sort of spacewalks, when you're outside airlocks, you're moving around there, you can see sort of a blackness of space, and you've got to look for sort of guiding lights of stations to help you navigate around. So that's quite a nice feel, in my opinion. When you also explore, you can see things like the damage done by sort of fires or electrical sparks or sort of blue flames from the enemies when they use sort of energy attacks, and those stand out quite nicely, very realistic. I also like how you can, when you do get around the hazard, say using a glue gun for example, you see how the fire sort of dampens out and sort of pitters out on its own. So all that's done very well in my opinion in terms of the graphics. So the music in Prey is used very well. The actual soundtrack's quite futuristic and it's reminiscent of films like Alien and Blade Runner. It sets the vibe quite well and it creates a good sense of tension when you're moving into different parts of the station. The sound effects from things like weapons and the enemies when they're attacking and moving around there are recorded sharply. The overall music, the volume I've mentioned can be quite loud in the Prey demo, so I mentioned it's a bit booming. That's one thing I've noticed here. You can turn it down in the master volume, but even on the standard stereo TV, it's very loud. So, and with a surround system, it's even more so. But overall, that's the only sort of niggly point about the actual sound. The actual use of sound and music is done very well, and it does sit well with the overall theme of being a sort of science fiction thriller game. I'm quite impressed with it on the whole. So if we're going to talk about the actual good points, just give you an overall recap of it. So good points is the story. It's great to have a good story-driven first-player game where there's no multiplayer elements. I think sometimes with games where there's multiplayer in there, they can sort of detract from the story. Like our Arcade Studios create an experience where not only is the main story quite intriguing, but also, for me anyway, makes me want to explore, find out the hidden extras such as the notes, the audio logs. So that's done very well. The options in terms of customising your character, there's a hell of a lot of neuro mods, different paths and routes you can choose, and that in turn also affects the way you're going to explore the station, how you're going to approach combat, whether you're going to be more stealthy, more getting there all guns blazing, whether you're going to use the alien powers if you develop those. So I like how you've got the options there where you can choose how you develop your character, and then that's going to also affect how you're going to do more than one playthrough as well. So it will give you the options to mix things up, and it can really give you quite a different gameplay experience depending if you focus in one area compared to another if you replay the game. The modifying of weapons, so you can build, as I mentioned, you can actually upgrade your weapons. I do enjoy that. I like the fact that you can find scrap items throughout the levels and use those to be converted into materials which you can then use to create new items, craft ammo, a first aid kit, things of that nature. I do like that option. So it means that you are finding meaningful junk. With some games where you find a lot of loot or scrap items or enemies and we're just sort of trading for cash, there's no real use for them, but on the Talos station or in Prey, there's pretty much use for most items you can find off the enemies and from dead humans. So graphically it's quite polished as well overall. There's good textures on the characters, alien design, human design's done very nicely, lighting's used to great effect, and I think overall really to good points, it's quite a strong example of a game in terms of the story. For me is the sort of the main thing that stands out, but also the combat as well. It's quite challenging at times, and it's good to have a game where you can't just go in all guns blazing and you're going to survive. You have to think about your approach. I like how gives you the option where you can think, well, I'm going to be more stealthy, I'm going to use things to sort of surround, like to create explosions, I'm going to just avoid the enemies altogether. It gives you those options and a lot of freedom to do how you want, whereas some games are a lot more linear, especially ones that have guns involved. There's nothing that's actually drastically wrong with Prey. There's little things that are just noticeable. So one of them's load time, so you're looking at about 2-3 minutes between certain screens when you're going from one part of the station to another. The other thing is sometimes the music is a little bit louder, which I talked about earlier. You can just turn that down, but it is a bit booming at times. And the only other thing that can be a bit sort of jarring is sometimes you get a bit of occasional texture pop when you going through the environments, you might notice on the sign where there's like text in game, it might just be a little bit blurred for a few seconds, but other than that there's nothing game breaking. So overall, summing up Prey, for me, it's got a really good story. I really enjoy story-driven games, and I like the fact that you've got additional things you can find in-game to enhance the narrative. I'd say once you played the game the first time and explored most stations, there's probably not much more to draw you in terms of a story, but the game's going to offer replay value in terms that you can use your neural mods to develop your character differently for each playthrough. Same with the weapon upgrades. I enjoy the fact you've got items you can use to scrap and create materials to develop, new weapons, create items in the game. That's quite clever. The game gives you the options to explore the station and get to different areas in more than one way. Same in terms of combat and either taking on or avoiding enemies. You've got more than one option. It's not just a typical point and shoot game. Last time I played any game, it gave you the option in terms of thinking outside the box or being a bit creative in your where you actually explore and move around with the Portal games. So I do like that option. It gives you a bit more to think about. And overall, it's got a good sort of sense of vibe to it as well. It's like tension in the game. The idea, you're not sure if it's enemies, just whether it's a mimic or whether you're going to be attacked at any moment. So you're going around. Sometimes you've got that sense of paranoia, especially in the darker sections of the game, or when you're in space where your movement's a bit more restrictive and not as fast. So overall, it's a good game. We've got a good narrative. A lot of options for replay in terms of character development. I'd say Prey is definitely for you. Well, that's it for this episode of First Impressions. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe. But thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.